Ryan Carter stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his corner office, watching the city buzz 40 stories below. At 32, he owned one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the country. Carter Industries had made him richer than he ever imagined possible. But today, none of that mattered. His assistant knocked and entered without waiting. "The Nakamura meeting is in an hour," she said, placing a thick folder on his mahogany desk. "Everything you need to know about their company culture is in there." Ryan picked up the folder but didn't open it. He'd already memorized every detail about Nakamura Corporation, the Japanese tech giant that could make or break his company's future. This deal would be worth $500 million and open doors across Asia. Without it, his competitors would leave him in the dust. "There's one more thing," his assistant added carefully. "Mr. Nakamura specifically asked if you're married. Apparently, he only does business with family men. Says unmarried businessmen can't be trusted with long-term commitments." Ryan's jaw tightened. In all his years of building this empire, he'd never let personal relationships get in the way. Dating was just another business transaction to him. Expensive dinners, charity galas, and women who wanted his wallet more than his company. He'd been engaged once to Victoria, but that ended when she showed her true colors. Since then, he'd kept his heart locked away tighter than his company's trade secrets. "Set up another meeting," he said. "I'll figure something out." But as the afternoon turned into evening, Ryan realized he was out of options. Hiring an actress seemed too risky. What if she talked to the press? Asking someone from his social circle was equally dangerous. Everyone in his world had their own agenda. Meanwhile, across town, Maya Rodriguez was having the worst day of her life. She stood in the kitchen of an upscale downtown building, watching smoke pour from the oven where 50 pieces of salmon were now charcoal. The fire alarm screamed overhead and her catering assistant ran around opening windows. "I'm so sorry," Maya said to the building manager. "The oven temperature was wrong. We'll replace everything, I promise." The manager shook his head. This was for Ryan Carter's business dinner. Do you know who that is? He could buy this entire building without checking his bank account. And now his important guests are getting pizza instead of the 5-star meal they expected. Maya's heart sank. She'd started her catering business 6 months ago, taking any job she could find. Between her mother's medical bills and her own art supplies, money was always tight. This job was supposed to pay her rent for the next 2 months. Now she'd probably lose everything. "Mr. Carter wants to see you upstairs," the manager continued. 42nd floor. "Good luck." Maya took the elevator up, her stomach churning worse than the burned fish smell still clinging to her clothes. The elevator opened to reveal the most beautiful office she'd ever seen. Everything was white, black, or silver, clean lines and expensive furniture that probably cost more than she made in a year. Ryan Carter stood with his back to her, still looking out those massive windows. He was tall, wearing a suit that fit him perfectly with dark hair and the kind of confidence that filled a room. When he turned around, Maya was surprised by how young he looked. She'd expected someone older with gray hair and a permanent frown. Instead, she found herself looking at a man who could have been in a magazine. "You're the caterer," he said. It wasn't a question. "Yes, sir. Maya Rodriguez. I know there's no excuse for what happened, but how much do you owe in debt?" The question caught her completely off guard. "I'm sorry?" "Debt, credit cards, loans, medical bills." "How much?" Maya felt her cheeks burn. "I don't see how that's any of your business." "Everything is my business when it affects me. You ruined a dinner that cost me a potential partnership with some very traditional Japanese businessmen. They left hungry and offended. That mistake might have cost me millions. Look, I said I was sorry. I'll pay for the food, but I can't." 50,000, Ryan interrupted. Maya blinked. "What?" "I'm guessing you owe around 50,000 in various debts. Medical bills for a sick parent, maybe? Student loans? Your catering business equipment?" He was so close to the truth it was scary. Maya's mother had been fighting cancer for 2 years. Even with insurance, the bills kept coming. Add her art school loans and the equipment she'd bought to start catering, and 50,000 was actually a conservative estimate. "I need a favor," Ryan continued, walking around his desk to lean against it. "Something that requires a certain type of person. Someone who needs money badly enough to agree to unusual terms." "What kind of favor?" Maya asked suspiciously. "I need a fiancé." Maya almost laughed. "Is this some kind of joke? Do I look like I joke about business? The Japanese company I'm trying to partner with is very traditional. Their CEO, Mr. Nakamura, only works with married men or men about to be married. He thinks single businessmen are unreliable. So get married. I don't have time to find someone, court them, and build a believable relationship. I need someone now. Someone who can play the part for 3 months, just long enough to close this deal. Maya stared at him. You want to pay me to pretend to be your fiancé? Exactly. $100,000 for 3 months of work. All you have to do is attend some dinners, smile at the right moments, and convince a few people that you're madly in love with me. The number hit Maya like a physical blow. $100,000 would pay off her mother's medical debt, cover her own bills, and give her enough left over to focus on her art instead of working 3 different jobs. Why me? She asked. Because you're nobody, Ryan said bluntly. No offense, but you don't run in my social circles. You won't have complicated motives or try to turn this into something real. You need money, I need a fiancé. It's a business transaction. Maya felt insulted and intrigued at the same time. What exactly would I have to do? Live in my penthouse guest room. Attend social events. Meet the Nakamura family when they visit. Convince everyone that we're planning a wedding. And after 3 months, we have a very public, very amicable breakup. You get your money, I get my business deal, and we never see each other again. Maya thought about her mother lying in that hospital bed, about the eviction notice on her apartment door, about all the dreams she'd put on hold because survival came first. I have conditions, she said finally. Ryan raised an eyebrow, such as separate bedrooms, no physical contact except what's absolutely necessary for appearances, and I want half the money up front. Deal, Ryan said without hesitation. My lawyer will draw up a contract tomorrow. Think you can convincingly play the role of someone who loves me? Maya looked at this cold, arrogant man who treated everything like a business deal, including fake love. I'm a better actress than you think, she said. But as she rode the elevator back down, Maya wondered if she was making the biggest mistake of her life. Moving into Ryan's penthouse felt like stepping into a different world. Maya stood in the guest bedroom, which was bigger than her entire apartment, holding the single suitcase that contained her whole life. Everything was white and pristine like a hotel room that no one had ever actually lived in. The closet has been stocked with appropriate clothing, Ryan said from the doorway, keeping his distance as they'd agreed. My stylist picked everything based on your measurements. Maya opened the walk-in closet to find dozens of designer dresses, shoes that cost more than her monthly grocery budget, and jewelry that sparkled under the soft lighting. This is too much, she said. It's necessary. Tomorrow night is the Hamilton Charity Gala. Half the city's elite will be there, including some business associates I need to impress. This will be our first public appearance as a couple. The way he said couple made it sound like a military operation. Maya touched one of the silk dresses, wondering how she'd ever pull this off. What if I mess up? What if people can tell we're faking? You won't, Ryan said with the same confidence he used in board meetings. Just follow my lead, smile when I smile, and try not to trip in those heels. The next evening, Maya stared at herself in the bathroom mirror. The emerald green dress fit her perfectly, and the stylist had done something magical with her hair and makeup. She looked like she belonged in Ryan's world, but inside she still felt like the same girl who burned salmon and worried about rent money. Ready? Ryan asked when she emerged. He looked devastating in his black tuxedo, every inch the powerful CEO. For a moment, Maya forgot this was all pretend. Ready as I'll ever be, she said, accepting his offered arm. The gala was held in the city's most exclusive hotel ballroom. Crystal chandeliers hung from painted ceilings, and everyone looked like they'd stepped out of a fashion magazine. Maya felt the weight of 100 curious stares as Ryan guided her through the crowd. Ryan Carter, a silver-haired man, approached them with a woman wearing enough diamonds to fund a small country. We heard rumors you'd finally found someone special. Charles, Linda, I'd like you to meet Maya Rodriguez, Ryan said smoothly. My fiancé. Maya smiled and shook their hands, trying to remember all the coaching Ryan had given her in the car. Talk about art. Mention her volunteer work at the community center. Avoid discussing her family's financial struggles. How wonderful, Linda gushed. How did you two meet? Maya panicked for a second, but Ryan squeezed her hand gently. Maya was catering an event at my office building, he said. One look at her and I knew I had to ask her out. It was the most romantic disaster ever, Maya added, finding her voice. I was so nervous around him that I accidentally set off the fire alarm. Ryan joked later that I literally made his heart race from the first moment we met. The couple laughed, and Maya felt a small surge of pride. She could do this. As the evening continued, Maya found herself relaxing. The people were snobbish, but they weren't cruel. And Ryan, to her surprise, was a perfect gentleman. He introduced her to everyone, made sure she always had a drink, and even laughed at her jokes. "You're doing great," he whispered during a quiet moment on the terrace. "Thanks. Though I think Mrs. Pemberton suspects something." She kept asking very specific questions about our relationship timeline. "Mrs. Pemberton suspects everyone of everything. Don't worry about her." They stood in comfortable silence, looking out at the city lights. Maya found herself studying Ryan's profile. Away from the crowd, some of the tension left his shoulders. He almost looked normal. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Shoot. Why don't you just find someone real? I mean, you're successful. You're not bad-looking. Surely there are women who'd want to marry you for real." Ryan's expression hardened slightly. "I tried that once. Turned out she was more interested in my bank account than in me. Besides, real relationships are messy. They require time and energy I don't have. That's a pretty lonely way to live." "Lonely is safe," he said quietly. "Lonely doesn't cost you half your company in a divorce." Maya wanted to ask more, but the band started playing, and Ryan offered his hand. "Dance." On the dance floor, with Ryan's arms around her and his cologne filling her senses, Maya had to remind herself this was all an act. He was a good dancer, confident and smooth, making her feel graceful even though she'd learned to waltz from YouTube videos the night before. "You're full of surprises," Ryan said as he spun her expertly. "What do you mean?" "Tonight, you've charmed every person we've talked to. Charles Maxwell asked for your opinion on the new museum exhibit. The mayor's wife wants you to join her book club. Even Mrs. Pemberton smiled at you, and I've never seen her smile at anyone." Maya felt warmth spread through her chest. "I'm just being myself. That's what I mean. Most people in my world spend so much energy trying to impress everyone else that they forget how to just be real." Their eyes met, and for a moment, Maya forgot about the contract, the money, and the fact that this was all temporary. Ryan's gaze was intense, like he was seeing her for the first time. The spell broke when someone tapped Ryan on the shoulder. "Mind if I cut in?" Maya turned to see a stunning blonde woman in a red dress that probably cost more than Maya's car. Ryan's whole body tensed. "Victoria," he said flatly. "Hello, darling." The woman's smile was sharp as a knife. "I heard the most interesting rumors about an engagement. I simply had to come see for myself. Victoria, this is Maya Rodriguez, my fiancée. Maya, this is Victoria Blackwood. We used to know each other." Victoria's eyes raked over Maya like she was calculating her net worth. "How charming. Tell me, Maya, how long have you known Ryan?" 6 months, Maya said, sticking to their rehearsed timeline. 6 whole months. "How romantic. Ryan, you always did move fast when something caught your eye." Victoria's tone was sugar-sweet and poison-sharp. "I suppose congratulations are in order." "Thank you," Maya said, stepping closer to Ryan and slipping her arm through his. "We're very happy." Victoria's smile faltered slightly. "Well, I should let you get back to your celebration. Ryan, we should catch up soon. I'm sure Maya won't mind if we have dinner. You know, for old time's sake." "I think we're good," Ryan said firmly. After Victoria glided away, Maya felt Ryan's tension like a live wire. "Ex-girlfriend?" she asked. "Ex-fiancé? And trouble?" They didn't talk much during the drive home. Maya kept stealing glances at Ryan, whose jaw was clenched tight. Back in the penthouse, the evening's magic disappeared, replaced by awkward silence. "You did well tonight," Ryan said stiffly. "Very convincing, thanks. So did you." They stood there for a moment, and Maya could feel something hanging in the air between them, something that had nothing to do with their business arrangement. "I should get some sleep," she said finally. "Good idea. We have brunch with my business partner and his wife tomorrow." As Maya headed toward her room, Ryan called her name softly. She turned back. "Maya? Tonight when we were dancing. Thank you for making it feel real." Long after she'd closed her bedroom door, Maya lay awake thinking about those words, because for her it had felt real too, and that was becoming a very dangerous problem. Maya woke up to the sound of voices in the living room. She checked her phone. It was barely 7 in the morning. Throwing on a robe, she padded out to find Ryan pacing back and forth, talking rapidly on his phone in what sounded like Japanese. "Hi, wakarimashita," he said before hanging up. When he saw Maya, his expression was tense. They're here. Who's here? The Nakamura family. They were supposed to arrive next week, but they changed their plans. They want to have breakfast with us in 2 hours. Maya felt her stomach drop. 2 hours? Ryan, I don't know anything about Japanese culture. What if I mess this up? You won't, he said, but she could hear the worry in his voice. Just be yourself. That's what worked at the gala. An hour later, Maya stood in front of her closet trying to choose between dresses that all looked equally expensive and intimidating. Ryan knocked on her door. Here, he said, handing her a simple but elegant navy dress. This one shows respect without trying too hard. And Maya? He paused at her doorway. Mr. Nakamura is bringing his wife and his daughter. They're very traditional, but they're also kind people. Don't try to be someone you're not. The restaurant Ryan chose was quiet and upscale with private dining rooms. Maya's hands were sweating as they walked toward their table. Through the frosted glass doors, she could see 3 figures waiting. Mr. Nakamura stood when they entered, a dignified man in his 60s with silver hair and gentle eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. His wife was petite and elegant, wearing a beautiful silk blouse. Their daughter looked to be about Maya's age, with a warm smile and modern style. Nakamura-san, Ryan said, bowing slightly. Thank you for making time to meet with us. The pleasure is ours, Mr. Nakamura replied in perfect English. And this must be the young woman who has captured your heart. Maya felt her cheeks warm as Ryan introduced her. She bowed, hoping she was doing it right. It's an honor to meet you, Nakamura-san. Mrs. Nakamura smiled and said something in Japanese to her husband. He chuckled and translated. My wife says you have kind eyes. She has a good sense about people. As they sat down, Maya found herself genuinely interested in the family. Mrs. Nakamura showed her photos of their garden in Kyoto, while their daughter Yuki talked about her master's degree in international business. Maya, Ryan tells us you're an artist, Mr. Nakamura said as they waited for their food. What kind of art do you create? I paint mostly, Maya said. Street scenes, people in everyday moments. I'm fascinated by how ordinary life can be beautiful if you look at it the right way. That's a wonderful philosophy, Mrs. Nakamura said. In Japan, we call this mono no aware, finding beauty in simple, fleeting moments. Maya's eyes lit up. I love that concept. I've actually been trying to learn more about Japanese art and culture since meeting Ryan. That wasn't entirely true. She'd spent the last 2 weeks frantically researching online, but the family seemed pleased. For the next hour, Maya found herself in the most genuine conversation she'd had in weeks. She asked questions about their traditions, shared stories about her own family, and even managed to make Mr. Nakamura laugh with a story about her disastrous attempts at making sushi. Ryan watched the whole interaction with something like amazement. Maya wasn't performing or trying to impress anyone. She was just being herself, and the Nakamura family was clearly charmed. Ryan is very lucky to have found you, Mr. Nakamura said as they prepared to leave. In my experience, the best business partnerships come from personal trust. I can see that you two have something special. As they said their goodbyes, Mrs. Nakamura pressed a small wrapped package into Maya's hands. A small gift, she said, for bringing such happiness to Ryan's face. In the car afterward, Maya carefully unwrapped the gift to find a delicate silk scarf painted with cherry blossoms. That went better than I could have hoped, Ryan said, starting the engine. They loved you. They're wonderful people. I feel terrible that we're lying to them. Ryan was quiet for a moment. Sometimes I forget we're lying too. That afternoon, Maya was painting on the penthouse terrace when Ryan came home early from work. She'd been staying here for 3 weeks now, and she'd started to leave little traces of herself around. Art supplies on the dining table, her books on the coffee table, the scent of her coffee in the morning. How was your day? She asked, not looking up from her canvas. Better now, Ryan said, loosening his tie. He came to stand behind her, looking at her painting. Is that the view from here? Sort of. I took some artistic liberties. Maya had painted the city skyline, but she'd added warmer colors, softer edges. People on the streets below looked happy instead of rushed. You make everything look more beautiful than it really is, Ryan said quietly. Something in his voice made Maya turn around. He was standing closer than usual, close enough that she could see the flecks of gold in his brown eyes. Ryan, I know what you're going to say. This complicates things, Does it? Instead of answering, Ryan cupped her face in his hands and kissed her. It was nothing like the brief, formal kisses they'd shared for cameras. This was soft and real and made Maya's heart race in a way that had nothing to do with pretending. When they broke apart, Maya felt dizzy. We agreed no physical contact unless necessary. Was that necessary? Ryan asked, his forehead resting against hers. Probably not. Good. They might have kissed again, but Maya's phone rang. She saw her best friend's name on the screen and reluctantly answered. Jess, hi. Maya, where are you? I've been trying to reach you for days. Maya glanced at Ryan, who had stepped back but was still watching her intently. I'm working a big catering job. For 3 weeks? Maya, I saw the photos from that charity gala online. You were with Ryan Carter. The Ryan Carter. What's going on? It's complicated. Are you dating him? Because, girl, I need to tell you something. I did some research after seeing those photos. This guy has a reputation. He doesn't do relationships. He goes through women like tissue paper. Maya felt her heart sink. Jess, it's not what you think. I hope not, because I also found out about his ex-fiancée. Victoria Blackwood? She's been telling people at parties that she knows something about his new relationship, something that doesn't add up. After Maya hung up, the magic of the afternoon was gone. Ryan had heard enough of the conversation to understand. Your friend is worried about you, he said. She's right to be worried. This is crazy, Ryan. We're lying to everyone, including ourselves. What do you mean? Maya gestured between them. This, whatever just happened. We're supposed to be pretending, but it's starting to feel real, and that's dangerous for both of us. Ryan ran his hands through his hair. Maybe we should stick to the original plan. Keep things professional. Maybe we should. But even as they agreed to maintain distance, neither of them moved away from the other. The city sparkled below them, and Maya's painting sat on the easel, still wet, capturing a moment that felt suspended between real and pretend. That evening, Victoria Blackwood sat in her penthouse across town, scrolling through photos on her tablet. She'd hired a private investigator to dig into Maya's background, and what she'd found was very interesting indeed. A struggling artist, crushing debt, and a catering business that had only existed for 6 months. Victoria smiled as she reached for her phone. Ryan thought he was so clever, but she knew him better than anyone. And if he wanted to play games, she was ready to play too. 2 weeks later, Maya stood in front of the bathroom mirror, adjusting the diamond necklace Ryan had given her for tonight's dinner. It was the most important evening of their fake relationship, the night Ryan would finally sign the contract with Nakamura Corporation. You look beautiful, Ryan said from the doorway. He was already dressed in his best tuxedo, looking every inch the successful businessman. But Maya could see the nervousness in his eyes. Are you ready for this? She asked, turning to face him. As ready as I'll ever be. $500 million, Maya. This deal will change everything for my company. Maya felt a small pang in her chest. In all the weeks they'd been living together, sharing meals and quiet conversations, she'd almost forgotten that this was all about business for him. Tonight would end their arrangement. After the contract was signed, they'd stage a breakup and she'd go back to her real life. The thought made her sadder than it should have. The car's here, Ryan said, checking his watch. The Nakamura family is already at the restaurant. After tonight, you'll have your money and your freedom. Freedom. 3 months ago, that word would have excited her. Now it just felt empty. The restaurant was the city's most exclusive, the kind of place where politicians and celebrities went to make deals away from prying eyes. Maya recognized several faces from the society pages as Ryan led her to a private dining room in the back. The Nakamura family was already seated, along with several executives from both companies. Mr. Nakamura stood and bowed when they entered, his face warm with genuine affection. Maya-chan, Mrs. Nakamura said, using the fond nickname she'd given Maya. You look radiant tonight. Thank you, Nakamura-san. I'm so happy to celebrate this moment with you. The lie felt heavier than usual on Maya's tongue. These people had become important to her over the past month. They'd invited her to their hotel for tea, shared stories about their family, and treated her like a beloved daughter-in-law. The guilt of deceiving them was eating her alive. Dinner passed smoothly. The conversation flowed between business and personal topics, with Maya translating some of her art philosophy into Japanese phrases Mrs. Nakamura had taught her. Mr. Nakamura beamed with pride. clearly pleased that his business partner had found such a culturally sensitive bride. "Before we sign the contract," Mr. Nakamura said as dessert was served, "I want to make a toast. To Ryan and Maya, whose love has shown me that trust in business comes from trust in character." Maya felt sick. Ryan reached for her hand under the table, squeezing it gently, but she couldn't tell if it was for comfort or for show. "Actually," a voice said from behind them, "I think there's something you should know before any toasts are made." Maya's blood turned to ice. Victoria Blackwood stood in the doorway of the private dining room, stunning in a red dress and wearing the kind of smile that promised trouble. "Victoria," Ryan said sharply, standing up, "this is a private dinner." "Oh, I know exactly what kind of dinner this is," Victoria purred, walking into the room like she owned it. "A celebration of lies, isn't it?" Mr. Nakamura looked confused. "I'm sorry, but who are you?" "Victoria Blackwood, Ryan's former fiancée, and I have some very interesting information about his current engagement." Maya felt the room start to spin. This couldn't be happening. Not tonight, not like this. "Victoria, leave. Now." Ryan's voice was deadly quiet. "I don't think so. You see, Mr. Nakamura, I've done some research into this touching love story, and it's not quite what it seems." Victoria pulled out her phone and began swiping through photos. "This is Maya Rodriguez 6 months ago, working as a caterer at Ryan's office building. And this," she showed another photo, "is the check Ryan wrote to her the very next day. $100,000. The silence in the room was deafening. Maya watched the color drain from Mrs. Nakamura's face. "That's not what it looks like," Maya said desperately, "isn't it?" Victoria continued mercilessly. "A struggling artist with crushing debt suddenly becomes engaged to a billionaire the day after she ruins his business dinner? And look at this. Separate bedrooms in his penthouse. Quite unusual for an engaged couple, wouldn't you say?" Mr. Nakamura slowly set down his wine glass. When he looked at Ryan, his eyes were cold with betrayal. "Is this true?" Ryan's jaw worked silently. Maya could see him calculating, trying to find a way to salvage the situation. And in that moment of hesitation, she realized the horrible truth. He was still thinking about the business deal first. "Mr. Nakamura," Ryan began carefully. "I can explain, yes or no," the older man said sharply. "Did you pay this woman to pretend to be your fiancée?" Maya watched Ryan's face, hoping against hope that he would choose her over the deal, that he would tell Mr. Nakamura the arrangement might have started fake, but had become real, that he would defend what they'd built together. Instead, Ryan looked at the contract sitting on the table, then at the Nakamura family's disappointed faces, then finally at Maya. In his eyes, she saw her answer. "It's complicated," Ryan said. Those 2 words shattered Maya's heart into a million pieces. Even now, with everything falling apart, he couldn't choose her over his precious business deal. Mrs. Nakamura stood up, her face flushed with humiliation. She said something rapid in Japanese to her husband, who nodded grimly. "We are leaving," Mr. Nakamura announced. "Mr. Carter, you have shown us your true character tonight. My family does not do business with men who build their relationships on deception." "Please let me explain," Ryan said, finally finding his voice. "The arrangement may have started as business, but nothing," Mr. Nakamura interrupted. "You brought us a lie disguised as love. You made my wife care for this girl, made us welcome her into our family knowing it was all false." Maya couldn't bear it anymore. She pulled off the diamond necklace and set it on the table. "I'm sorry," she whispered to Mrs. Nakamura. "I'm so sorry." The older woman looked at her with such sadness that Maya almost broke down completely. "So are we, child. So are we." The Nakamura family filed out in dignified silence, leaving Maya alone with Ryan and Victoria's triumphant smile. "Well," Victoria said, checking her reflection in her phone, "I think my work here is done. Ryan, when you're ready to discuss getting back together with someone from your own world, you know where to find me." After Victoria left, Maya and Ryan sat in the empty dining room, surrounded by the wreckage of their carefully constructed lie. "Maya," Ryan said quietly, "I can fix this. Give me a few days and I can make them understand." "Understand what?" Maya stood up, her voice shaking with anger and hurt. "That you paid me to lie to them? That even when everything was falling apart, your first instinct was to protect your business deal instead of me? That's not fair. You knew what this was from the beginning, did I? Because somewhere along the way I started to think we were building something real. I thought when you kissed me on the terrace, when you held me during those quiet evenings, when you looked at me like I mattered, I thought maybe you'd started to care. Ryan ran his hands through his hair. I do care, but Maya, this deal was always more important than me. I get it now. Maya picked up her purse, her hands trembling. I'll pack my things tonight. Consider our contract fulfilled. Where will you go? Maya looked at him one last time, memorizing his face even though it hurt. That's not your problem anymore. As she walked out of the restaurant, Maya heard Ryan call her name, but she didn't turn around. Outside, the city lights blurred through her tears, and she realized that somewhere along the way, she'd made the biggest mistake of her life. She'd fallen in love with a man who would always choose business over her heart. 3 months after walking out of that restaurant, Maya stood in front of her latest painting, adding the final touches of color to a street scene. Her tiny studio apartment was cramped but filled with natural light, and canvases lined every wall. For the first time in years, she was painting full-time. The money from Ryan had paid off her mother's medical bills and given her enough to survive. While she focused on her art, she'd returned the full $100,000 to his office the day after their arrangement ended, keeping only what she'd already spent on her mother's treatment. She didn't want his money anymore. Her phone buzzed with a text from her best friend Jess. Gallery opening tonight. Are you sure you're ready for this? Maya smiled despite her nerves. A small gallery downtown had agreed to showcase her work, 15 paintings she'd created over the past 3 months. Most of them were city scenes, but a few were more personal. One in particular showed a figure standing alone on a penthouse balcony, looking out at a world that felt both beautiful and distant. She tried not to think about who had inspired that painting. Across town, Ryan sat in his office staring at a newspaper article about Maya's gallery opening. He'd been following her career from a distance, making sure she was okay without interfering in her life. The article called her work emotionally raw and surprisingly hopeful, and mentioned that several pieces had already sold before the opening. He was proud of her, even though he had no right to be. His assistant knocked and entered. Mr. Carter, there's someone here to see you. I'm Mr. Nakamura. Ryan's heart stopped. He hadn't spoken to the Nakamura family since that disastrous dinner 3 months ago. The business deal had fallen through completely, costing his company millions and forcing him to make difficult decisions about layoffs and expansion plans. Mr. Nakamura entered the office, looking older than Ryan remembered. The two men bowed politely to each other, but the warmth from their previous meetings was gone. Nakamura-san, Ryan said carefully, I didn't expect to see you again, nor I you, but I am in the city on other business and I wanted to speak with you. They sat across from each other in the same chairs where they'd once planned a partnership. I owe you an apology, Ryan said. What I did was wrong. I deceived you and your family and I hurt people I care about in the process. Mr. Nakamura studied him for a long moment. You have changed since we last met. I hope so. My wife has been following the young woman's art career, Maya Rodriguez. She is quite talented. Ryan felt a familiar ache in his chest at hearing her name. Yes, she is. Tell me, Mr. Carter, do you still love her? The question caught Ryan off guard. I don't think that matters anymore. It matters to me. When we first met her, I saw something real between you. Even if the engagement was arranged, the feelings I observed seemed genuine. Ryan was quiet for a long moment. I've loved her since the first week she lived in my apartment. But I was too afraid to admit it, even to myself. When everything fell apart, I chose business over her. I'll regret that for the rest of my life. Mr. Nakamura nodded slowly. Fear makes fools of us all. The question is, what do you intend to do about it now? That evening, Maya stood nervously in the gallery as people filtered in for her opening. She wore a simple black dress and tried to calm her racing heart. This was her chance to prove herself as an artist, independent of Ryan's world and everything that had happened between them. Maya, Jess appeared at her side with a glass of wine. You look beautiful and nervous. Stop being nervous. Your work is amazing, Maya smiled gratefully. Thanks. I just hope people actually like it. Are you kidding? Look around. Half these paintings already have red dots on them. It was true. Maya watched in amazement as people moved through the gallery, studying her work with genuine interest. A couple stood in front of her favorite piece, a painting of an elderly woman feeding pigeons in the park, talking quietly about the emotion in the brushstrokes. "Excuse me, are you the artist?" Maya turned to find Mrs. Nakamura standing beside her, elegant as always in a navy blue dress. Maya's heart nearly stopped. "Mrs. Nakamura," she whispered. I'm so sorry. I never meant for you to get hurt." The older woman smiled sadly. "I know, child. I could see it in your eyes that night. You cared for us, didn't you? Even though it started as pretense?" "Yes," Maya said, tears threatening. "I cared for all of you. That's what made it so hard. And you cared for Ryan, too." Maya couldn't deny it. "I did, I still do, even though I shouldn't." Mrs. Nakamura took her hands gently. "Love is not something we can control. But what we do with that love, that is our choice. He chose his business over me, did he? Or did he choose what he thought was safe over what he was afraid to lose?" Before Maya could answer, she heard a commotion near the entrance. Her breath caught as she saw Ryan enter the gallery, looking devastatingly handsome in a dark suit. Their eyes met across the room, and for a moment, everything else faded away. He walked slowly toward her, stopping in front of the painting she'd made of the figure on the penthouse balcony. "You painted me," he said quietly. "I painted someone who looked lost." Maya replied, her voice barely steady. "I was lost. I still am without you." Mrs. Nakamura squeezed Maya's hand and quietly slipped away, giving them privacy. "What are you doing here, Ryan?" "I came to see your work. And to tell you something I should have said 3 months ago." He turned to face her fully. "I love you, Maya. Not the fake fiancé, not the woman I paid to play a part. I love the real you, the one who burns salmon and makes terrible jokes and sees beauty in everything." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "You're 3 months too late, I know, but I had to try." Ryan pulled something from his pocket, a small wrapped package. "Mrs. Nakamura asked me to give this to you." Maya unwrapped it to find a beautiful origami crane made from rice paper, with a note in Mrs. Nakamura's careful handwriting. "In Japan, cranes represent hope and healing. Some wounds can be mended if both people are willing to try." "The Nakamuras forgive us," Ryan said softly. "They understand that sometimes love begins with deception but becomes truth. They're even reconsidering the business partnership." "And what do you want?" Maya asked. "I want to earn your forgiveness. I want to prove that I've learned to choose love over fear. I want to spend the rest of my life supporting your dreams instead of putting business first." Maya looked around the gallery, at her paintings hanging on the walls, at the people appreciating her work, at the life she'd built for herself. She was proud of what she'd accomplished, but she was tired of being alone. "It won't be easy," she said. "I'm not the same person I was when I lived in your penthouse." "Good, I'm not the same person either. We can figure out who we are together." Maya studied his face, seeing the sincerity in his eyes, the hope mixed with fear. "One condition. Anything. No more contracts. No more rules. If we do this, it's real. All of it." Ryan smiled, the first genuine smile she'd seen from him since their terrace kiss months ago. "I wouldn't want it any other way." As he leaned down to kiss her, Maya heard Mrs. Nakamura's gentle laughter nearby and saw people throughout the gallery smiling at their reunion. Her paintings watched over them like silent witnesses to a love story that had finally found its way home. Sometimes the best relationships were the ones that taught you how to choose each other, again and again, no matter how many times you got it wrong.